guys, what's up and welcome to the 2019 Halloween edition of the 2-Bit Review. And today we're taking a look at a game that I never got to take a look at when I was a kid. So I get to play it as an adult and kind of fix the mistake that was my childhood. Thanks, Mom, for not buying me this game. And yeah, I didn't own a Super Nintendo, you know, but my friends did. You could have bought them that game, given them that game so I could go to their house and play it. So, shame on you, Mom. So, guys, I know you're wondering, what game are we taking a look at today? Well, without further ado, we are taking a look at Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the Super Nintendo. Let's jump right in. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a top-down run-and-gun shooter developed by LucasArts and published by Konami for the Super Nintendo and Sega Mega Drive / Genesis. It was released in 1993. It is known in Europe and Australia simply as Zombies due to censorship. According to an interview, and by the way, pardon me if I mispronounce this name, Toshiyasu Morita, Sega of America's tech director, the game was developed for the Super Nintendo, then it was ported to the Sega Genesis at the halfway point of development. In that same interview, he revealed the engine for Zombie Ate My Neighbors was later used for Ghoul Patrol, Zombie Ate My Neighbors sequel, as well as Metal Warriors and Big Sky Trooper. The Super Nintendo version has a flamethrower, which is not present in the Sega version. Like I said earlier, Zombie Ate My Neighbors had some censorship. Nintendo, in typical Nintendo fashion, did not want violence on their platform. Nintendo demanded all blood and gore be changed to purple ooze. It's good to keep in mind, though, that Nintendo was very aggressive in this era on self-censorship of their platforms. Being a LucasArts game, you have some references to the LucasArts game universe, namely Maniac Mansion / Day of the Tentacles, Tentacle Monster, being included in this game. While Zombies Ate My Neighbors was not a commercial success, it did get a sequel, Ghoul Patrol, but this game was not intended to be a sequel originally, but got reworked into it due to Zombie Ate My Neighbors having more brand recognition that the developers hoped would increase sales for the title. Apparently some crazy people were trying to create a film based on this game. A report from 2011 showed that the filmmakers were trying to secure rights from LucasArts. This was, of course, all before Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm and the closing of LucasArts. So I would put odds against this movie ever getting greenlit. Well, that's it for the tidbits, guys. Let's try to save the neighborhood from zombies in this review. The basic gameplay is an arcade top-down run-and-gun shooter style. The controls handle very tight in this game. I feel completely in control of my actions, and if I die or a neighbor gets eaten, it's because I made a mistake. The controls to the game are balanced and fair. You have the choice of two characters, Zeke, a spiked-haired punk boy, and Julie, a red-capped wearing teen. You must explore your neighborhood, shopping mall, pyramid, and haunted castle. You know, the basic things a suburban town has. You explore these areas trying to save your neighbors. Standing in your way are all the classic horror movie monsters like vampires, werewolves, swamp monsters, giant demonic babies, spiders, aliens, mummies, Texas chainsaw wielding guys, evil clones, giant dune worms, and last but not least, zombies. The enemies are fairly dumb and will not present a great challenge directly to you, aside from some enemies having more health, requiring more ammo, or an enemy that requires a specific weapon to kill them. The main challenges in the game are resource management with your weapons and time management with saving your neighbors, as it only takes one touch from a monster to kill your neighbors, and you must be quick on your feet if you hope to save them all in a given level, because if you don't, they will not continue with you into the next level, making it more challenging in preceding levels with less people to save. If you lose all your neighbors, it's game over. Once all neighbors are saved in a given level, a magic door opens up for you to step in that takes you to the end stage score screen, then onto the next level. The game has lots of items and weapons to use. You have keys to access locked areas containing neighbors or weapons, health packs and potions that can change you into a stampeding monster, and of course an arsenal of weapons, your trusty submachine water gun, bazookas, weed whackers, grenade-esque soda cans, silverware, crucifixes, flamethrowers for the Super Nintendo version, fire extinguishers, and alien guns, and so much more. As stated earlier, these weapons can be super effective against certain types of monsters, like the vampire is very weak to the cross. The game also implements a radar to help you find neighbors. The game also has a password system which is inadequate for reasons I will discuss in a moment. It is only available for a few levels. You must slog through a few stages before getting to the next password section. You also start at a password point with only your base weapon, which really hurts you later on in the game as enemies are tougher to kill. It would have been nice if at a password start point, the game provided the players with a basic assortment of weapons that are needed to fight the enemies of that stage. The level design is great here. You explore through a top-down view and it has a gauntlet dungeon crawl feel to it. The problem lies in that there are 48 freaking stages to explore. For a game that has an arcade style to it, this makes the game feel like a marathon. This is where the password system is very inadequate. With that many levels, a save system would have been more preferable. Co-op works well, but stick together as you are both sharing the same screen and cannot venture off on your own. It is very easy to get stuck in an area if you are not paying attention, and requires teamwork and, most importantly in this game, time to try and get your duo back together. The gameplay is awesome, but the marathon 48 levels really exhausted me. This game ideally is a lot of fun for about 1 or 2 hours, but once you start getting into the third hour, the fun factor starts wearing thin and it feels like a chore to slog through the levels of the game. So in summation, with tight controls, a fun arcade style that unfortunately goes on a little too long, gives Zombies Ate My Neighbors gameplay 2 bits out of 4. You all know, LucasArts is the king of sound in retro gaming. Zombies Ate My Neighbors has an awesome soundtrack that really fits the style of the genre. The sound effects work great too. Every weapon and nearly every action has a sound to it, which is awesome as some games from that era wouldn't put that much sound detail into a level. While the music is awesome, it does have a noticeable compression to the sound quality, but it doesn't really take away from the overall experience. Sound gets a near perfect 3 bits out of 4. The game looks awesome. The characters and world are very detailed. The 2 main characters are very distinct from each other, as well as the neighbors who range from tourists to chefs, teachers, babies, soldiers, pets, cheerleaders, and kids. The monsters are distinct too. The graphical presentation is top-notch. The story, however, is bare bones and clearly took a backseat to gameplay in the development of Zombies Ate My Neighbors. The plot to the game is Zeke and Julie set out to rescue their neighbors from monsters. Traveling throughout their town, they fight against giant babies, giant ants, giant spiders. At the end, you face Dr. Tongue, who I guess is the cause of the monster outbreak. They never clearly state this, but you face his giant head and defeat him to save the neighborhood. At the end, you get to walk through the development studio talking to the creators of the game. This, I feel, is an amazing way to do credits and should be used more often, in my humble opinion. While the story falls very short, the art and presentation score very high marks. I give presentation 2.5 bits out of 4. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a good game. I love the art direction. I love the variety of weapons, variety of enemies, the level design, the resource management. All of it is just awesome. This game, there was a lot of love put into it, and I can see that. But the marathon of the levels, like the amount of levels you have to go through, the fact that it has an arcade style to it, it's just a little too long. The fact that they have a password system and not a save system for a game this big, and when you use that password, especially in later levels, you start out with just your basic weapon and they don't give you anything else. You have to scrounge and find those other weapons. It has a very steep difficulty curve to it. So my final verdict for Zombies Ate My Neighbors on the Super Nintendo is going to have to be a recommended look but not buy for the casual or hardcore collector of the Super Nintendo. And honestly, it comes right down to the length of the game, the fact that it implements a password system, the steep difficulty curve, all of that I think really brings the game down. And I can't fully say, hey, go out and buy this game, especially because this game is about $33 online depending on its condition, and that's a lot of money to plop down, I think, for a retro game. And I would hate for someone to spend $30 on a game and absolutely hate it because of my recommendation. So definitely maybe emulate it first, see if you enjoy it. If you really enjoy it, by all means, go out, buy that game, enjoy that game on your Super Nintendo. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I enjoyed doing it for you. I hope you guys join me next November, because we're going to be taking a look at a game that's somewhat related to the game I reviewed last November. With all that said, I hope you guys have a happy Halloween, and as always, stay safe and play on.